Ryan.
Hey everybody, Scott Hollingsworth, and I want to welcome you to our first episode of Creating the Handshake Hangout. As always, I'm joined by our host, Todd Hudak, and today we're going to be talking about accountability tracking. And we brought on a great guest to share what he's doing and the success that he's seen with it. So, Todd, why don't you explain a little bit more about what we're going to be covering today and introduce everybody to our guest?
All right. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastic out there. Appreciate you hopping in. I know you're all busy out there, so we're going to definitely make this productive. We're going to talk with Chris, who is definitely outstanding in the BDC industry. I'll let him share a little bit more about that. Some of the topics I feel that we want to address today with Chris is we're going to talk about what numbers you should be tracking. We're also going to talk about how to outperform your goals by holding your team accountable. And our third topic is going to be why getting your whole team to buy in to the system is key to success. Okay, and I think this is really going to be what's targeting out there. So with no further ado, I want Chris to kind of hop on and tell them a little bit about yourself, Chris, and what you do and how you do it.
Hey everyone, I've been doing BDC manager, director, whatever you want to call it, for about 3 years now. I've had the pleasure of working with Todd for I think about a little over 2 of those maybe now, and it's been really enlightening to say the least. Todd's brought a lot of great ideas to the table that we were able to manipulate and make our own, and we've really seen some improvement. Since the time I got here, we've probably seen about a 50%, I'd say, year over year from the time I got here to now. We're averaging, I'd say, 360 to 400 sold units out of our BDC here, and we're averaging about 8 to 850 for the year in total sales. So we're accountable for about 50% of what the dealership does. So it's been a huge improvement, though, having Todd as part of the team, and a lot of good stuff has come from our relationship. So.
Great. And before we jump into the content, guys, I just want to let everybody that is watching live know that this is an interactive hangout. We have a Q&A app available. If you do have questions for Todd or Chris throughout the hangout, go ahead and submit them in the Q&A app, and we'll make sure that those get answered live on air.
All right, so Chris here, I know that we want to talk about 100 different things. Let's talk about what numbers you're tracking and what you're tracking out there. Make sure you're gauging yourself on what's going on.
Well, obviously, you got to focus on the appointments that are set, shown, and then what sold. We try to set stretch targets out there every day of appointments, 50, 60, 70, whatever it is, but try to set lofty goals. And outside of that, the other huge thing I think that we got from our relationship was accountability as far as daily activities. Average, I think you say minimum of 100. Most of my team, our minimum's 120. So we've moved past that initial 100 attempts a day that Todd put in place a long time ago, and our minimum's 120, and I think most of them are averaging 140 to 150. But the huge advantage that I saw in this tracking of the activities is you can see where they're spending a majority of their time. So you may have some newer agents who are spending all their time, just taking phone ups. They're not working proactive, and they're not working old solds. They're spending all their time in one of the least lucrative buckets, which is going to fill itself. And you want to try to get them to shift their, time, effort, and everything into a more of a proactive area. And I want to keep referring to your tick sheet, Todd, but I don't know if everybody out there has those. So, but the tick sheet we use is broke down in areas, and you want to get them to shift to where the dealership's, gonna actually be developing business, not just maintaining business or taking care of those reactive customers that are coming in. So, I mean, that helped us a lot, and that goes into goal setting. You can take the daily activities, and if Todd, for example, is only doing 100 and Scott's doing 140, Scott's got a lot more sold. You can kind of show how that activity is going to result. A little more effort each day is going to result in this amount of improvement on your numbers. And then at the end of the day, who's not happy to make more money? I mean, that's why we all come to work every day. So
Yeah,
it's
And let's get into it just for a second about setting those goals, because tracking your numbers is great, but if you don't have the goals to know what you are tracking the numbers to hit, and where you're going to be successful, there's no point. So Todd, talk to us about the best ways to set the goals and how to not set them too high or too low.
Okay, so and Chris is really hammering exactly what's going on out there. What we want is we definitely want activity. So we track how many attempts each rep is doing. Now, based on that, we look for data collection. So Chris works with the sales managers, he works with the team. We're looking for probability of contact. So if Chris has a BDC rep that's making 140 calls and only talks to 10 people, a lot of times it's going to be data. If we end up with a home number, which is really useless, we want to make sure that we have email, we have texting tools, we're using a cell phone. So what Chris does is he tracks that information so his BDC can run on high test. So with 140 attempts, we're looking for a minimum of a 20 to 25% contact rate. And that's what we find is a healthy contact rate with good data. Now, once we get that contact rate where we want it, then we goal set that BDC rep to say they should be averaging about a 25% appointment ratio. So if they're going to talk to 4 people, they're usually going to make 1 appointment. Now, I know he has some reps that do better than that. New people tend to do a bit less, but that's the goal we're looking for. We're wanting to say if they talk to 4 people, they should at least make 1 appointment. Now, guys like Chris will run 50%, but BDC industry, 1 out of 4 actual contacts. Now, the other thing we track is how well do we create excitement. Is that customer coming in enthused? Does he know who to ask for? So we hold the BDC accountable for a 50% show ratio. Once we get the 50% show ratio, then it's up to the management team under Chris's guidance to make sure they're preparing. Not just anybody takes these leads. We call it fair and equal to fair and unequal, but it's always going to be fair. So Chris wants to make sure his BDC is being taken care of. So when we have prime selected salespeople take these leads, because we require a 50% close ratio on these. So as long as we know that we're tracking from the sold to the show to the appointment to the contact to the amount of times that rep dials the phone, we can goal set that rep right down to how many calls they need to make in order to be successful. So it's pretty systematic, and where Chris was even going into more depth was saying that we do this for multiple categories. So if it's a phone up, it's a reactive lead. If it's an internet lead, we're reacting to these things. On a development basis, we're seeing, hey, are we maintaining contact with sold data? People that didn't buy 1, 2, 3 months ago. Those are where Chris is really starting to really focus, and his BDC is becoming a true development center. Most BDCs don't hit that level, so that's why Chris is obviously the focus here. His BDC is gold engaged off of being a development center, and he can go in a little bit more on that, but I think hopefully I hit everything. I'm answering your question.
Yeah, you did. And Todd mentioned that one of the things is that you can't have a home phone. You have to have a good email address, a cell phone, way to get in contact with that person. Chris, what are you doing to gather that content from your prospects?
Well, I mean, it's asking, we have scripts in place, and, a lot of my people are to a higher level than the entry level, so they have a little more free range over what they're doing. But, going back to the basics of what Todd teaches initially, I'm holding them accountable to sticking to that. And we write on the scripts, so they turn in the scripts at the end of the day for all their phone ups and different things, so I can track the data off of that, who is capturing numbers, and then I can share those best practices from those agents with, other people who may be struggling. It's really, you kind of tailor it to whatever your environment's like. I have some pretty solid veterans in there that I'm fortunate to have. But really, it's just making sure that they're following that script, whether they're tweaking it and making it their own, putting their own little twist on it, using their personality, letting that show through. I think giving them some free reign to do that and take ownership in it, they're more engaged that way. So I've noticed with those people that are capable of doing so, allowing them to do it in their own way and taking ownership has really helped. I mean, often days I'll see I have, let's say Adria takes 10 phone ups or Angie takes 10 phone ups. Well, they'll have 30 names and numbers and email addresses. Their data collection's so good now that they're not just getting a home phone, they're not just getting a cell phone, they're getting an email address and maybe the husband's email address too, because that way we have many more avenues to get our digital marketing and stuff out to. So it's really just showing them value in it and how it's going to pay off for them. Todd knows me, I'm a show me kind of guy, and so I kind of pass that along to my team. I show them the value in it, I show them how they're going to make more money, how they're going to be more successful, and how it's going to benefit the company in the long run, in the bigger picture. And most of the time, you don't get too much fight when you show them. So.
And all that, what I wanted to do is, because right where we're at, I want to go into the next, when we talk about the next topic on how to outperform your goals by holding your team accountable. That's what you're doing, but you know what, share with them some of the things that even I'm learning from you on how you created teams and the competition and the excitement in the room, and the timer goes off. And I mean, when you got a room full of people that all they do is live on the phone, you got to be able to motivate them to outperform goals and achievements. So talk a little bit about that, about how these BDCs need to be fun as well.
Well, we start the morning off by kicking it off with the Hudak playlist. So we get some good music going. We just try to keep a fun environment. I'm always pushing them, challenging them, and some people may not see value in it, but I think if you have 5 and I come over and say, Todd, great, you have 5, good job, you're the best, you're gonna quit on me. Whereas if I come over and say, come on, Todd, 5's all you got, and I know you got 10 in you, I just keep trying to push them. I spend a lot of time in there with them. I have a really good relationship with them. They trust me, but the key is just showing them the value in whatever it is, whether it be the tracking. Why, why do I have to fill out 10 pieces of paper, and then you take it and you break it down, you show them piece by piece what the value is in each one and how it's going to result in more money for them. They instantly buy in generally. I mean, once you show somebody, but the accountability process, I mean, you got to hold them accountable, because everybody, one person shouldn't be pulling the weight for everybody, and then they hold each other accountable. So we have a contest. I split my team into 2 groups. So I have a blue team and a red team, let's say, and I have my 2 lead reps heading up the team. So we have a little contest going. Whoever sets the most appointments this month gets dinner or whatever on me. That team, I'll do whatever for we pick that month. And I tried it, and I didn't think it was going to be successful as it was. And then I started getting a stream of group messages at night where everybody's going back and forth talking trash to each other because the blue team won and the red team got smoked. And I just try to have fun, and they enjoy it. So therefore, I mean, it works. But that's one of the biggest things I've had success with is, not me pushing them, but getting them to push each other, getting them to be competitive. And they come in, they write the first appointment on the board. Blue team's like, oh, first blood. Come on, red team, where you at? You're gonna make us carry this all day? I mean, it's great. It's exciting when you walk in there. Everybody's having fun. And that's one of the things Todd and I always talk about anytime he visits. What are you doing fresh? What are you doing new? How are you creating that competition in here? Because he knows I have some pretty serious people in there. I mean, they don't like to lose, and I think that's I'm a firm believer you're only as good as the people around you, and I've been lucky to surround myself with some great people like Todd and everybody I have on my team. So it's been a lot of fun.
One thing that you hit on that I want to kind of accent to is he said that the team trusts him and they engage. Chris gets on the phone, he does what he teaches them. He said, I'll show you how to do what you do. So the team relies on that. He also made a comment about how he's in there all the time and he's working with the team. So many times we see development centers out there with a person like actually the person that Chris replaced. I mean, they're never there. So how do you manage and control and build a trust level with a team of people that, one, you're not there, or two, you're not to somewhat of a level with them? I mean, obviously, they joke with him, but, he's got a couple reps in there that probably smoke him and probably can smoke me, so.
Let's not get carried away.
Well, yeah, yeah. So, we got some in there that are pretty doggone good, and, we just coach them along the way. I mean, that's the competition level. Even though they're paid individually, they really do perform as a team. And I think he's already kind of gone into our third phase of questioning that we wanted to talk about, was because how do you get your whole team to buy into the system and, to the key to success? So, I mean, maybe you can share a little bit of that. I mean, we deal with managers from, 7 locations?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be the guy. So go ahead and share how that relationship matches up.
Well, that was I came from a business-to-business sales background before I came in the car industry, and yeah, this is the first industry I've ever been in where this is how we've always done it, is embedded in everyone. I mean, nobody, change is like, oh, you better not say the word change around anybody. They freak out. And so when I came in, we were changing things. We were growing. We had, I think, 8 reps when I got here, and I have a room full of, Todd, I'm back up to about 20 in there now, bud. So we've grown, and along with growth comes change, and you got to adapt to the industry. Fortunately, our auto group is pretty cutting edge. So from the time I came in and started implementing new ideas from when Todd came in, it's been constant change. So one thing that I've done the whole way along is shown value in everything, and I try to keep negativity out. I don't want it to, because that'll foster in the room and then just spread into the next person, and it's just bad. So I try to handle everything one-on-one. If there's complaints, I don't take complaints without solutions. Todd knows that. Like, if somebody complains, you better have a solution how we're going to fix it. But I allow them to bring suggestions to the table, how we can improve, how we can change things. I give them ownership in the process and the projects and everything. And Todd will tell you, I scored too high on everyone liking me. So sometimes maybe I'm too nice, but I think it's really helped me out. Allowing people to be part of decisions. I never really come in and say, hey, this is how we're going to do it. It's usually, this is an idea, this is what I'm thinking, I think this will benefit us, we can do this, this, and this to get us to the next level. What do you guys think? And when you put it in that perspective of, hey, what is your feedback, what do you think, now they have a say in it, they have an opinion, they have ownership of this decision that we're making. It's our decision, not my decision. And then therefore, they're engaged, well, I don't want this to fail. That was my idea I gave Chris. This project can't fail. We gotta be successful. So then, now I have 5 other people holding the other 5 people that weren't necessarily bought in accountable. And so, I mean, just showing value in what we're doing, why we're doing it, and being transparent and allowing them to have some say and take some ownership of the projects or change or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and you talked about being transparent. When you're holding your team accountable, you mentioned that you have a board where they go up and will mark down an appointment.
Yes.
Do you have all of the numbers out there for everybody so that the entire team can see how everybody's performing?
I do. I have 2 separate boards. So I have a daily appointment board where, as the appointment's set, it is real time, like ESPN, the fastest reported history ever. That appointment, as soon as it's done, is on my board. Period. You don't want to be the person that doesn't put the appointment on the board in real time, do you, Todd?
Absolutely.
So we have that, and then so that shows you how everybody's doing. If Angie's got 10 and Dre only has 2, he can see that. He can see that other people are getting it done, and I want them to see that, because if I hit it and they'd just be like, oh, well, 2, I'm doing all right. I only had 2 yesterday. I'm keeping my average up. Well, if you see Todd's over here putting up 10, and Scott, you walk over to the board and write your first one up, you're probably thinking, man, I did something wrong this morning. But I have that board. So then I also have another board which keeps their daily averages of appointments set, shown, and sold. So that kind of gives, I do the top 3 in green and last place in red. So if you're anywhere in between, you're doing okay. If you hit green, then usually means you're going to make good money that month, and that's how they see it. And I don't put the red up there to necessarily bring anyone down, because everyone in my room is fully capable of being number 1 on that board, and they know it. It's more of a, hey, what's going on this month? And when they get to the red, we usually have a talk. Hey, Todd, why are you struggling this month? Is there something I can do? What can I do to make this month better for you, easier for you? as Todd said earlier, I'm engaged. I'm in there all the time. If I do have to leave for whatever reason, I don't have a doubt that things are still getting done because they are engaged and they are bought in. So all those other pieces, once you put those in place, everything just kind of comes full circle. And I mean, you know, if I had to take a couple of days off, I'm confident that my team's still going to perform and hold each other accountable because of the boards and the visibility and everything being transparent. You can see how you're performing against your peers.
Yeah, and one other thing that I was wondering about, you mentioned that you had a contact sheet that has places where people can put down the phone numbers and the email and that kind of stuff. So is there other information that they're tracking on that contact sheet?
So we call it a tick sheet. Are you talking about the script sheet where they're writing down as they go through the phone call, or are you talking about where they record all their activity for the day?
Yeah, all the activity for the day. Is it a tick sheet?
So I think we tweaked it a little bit, right, Todd? I mean, it was something that Todd had set up, and I just changed it to fit our layout and program. It's very simple. Some squares, and you tick off. If you take a phone up, you put a tick. If you get a name, you put a tick. If you get a number, you put a tick. If you get an email, you tick again. If you set an appointment off that call. So it shows, you know, if Todd took 10 phone calls today, 10 phone ups, and had 0 appointments, then we may have an issue with Todd's approach to that phone up script or whatever it might be. Maybe, you know, but it's the same, and it breaks it down for internet leads, and it shows internet leads are broke down between chat, email, everything. Then we have proactive and unsold showroom traffic, and then what I call old solds, I guess, which are database customers that we've sold in the past and haven't bought in a couple years. So that just kind of shows you where they spend their time throughout the day. And obviously, Todd, phone ups are the easiest. You sit and wait for the phone to ring, take the phone call when it rings, and then, you know, the other people that are taking the time in between those to go and hunt the old sold customers and do the proactive work are the ones that are really making the money, because that's, you know, where the money is. And we put the money in that area because that's how we become a development center, not a reactive center.
Right. And Todd or Chris, do you have one of those tick sheets, like a file saved on the computer, that maybe we could share that file with the group after the Hangout's over?
Yeah, I mean, I have I was going to say, probably either one of us. Todd's probably got a cleaner one than me, but okay. Mine's a little tweaked for how we do things here in the Midwest. So
great. Well, then we'll share that on the Hangout page. Where you got in to watch this Hangout, we're going to share that in the comments after the Hangout's over. All right?
One of the other neat things I wanted to throw out there real quick is that every one of these tick sheets and every one of these profit centers that we track, we have a pay plan that says if you're a proactive BDC rep, you're going to make more money than a reactive BDC rep. So we actually have pay plans that say, bring that person in from 1, 2, 3 months ago and get a referral proactively, and you're going to make more money than that person just sits around waiting for the phone to ring. So everything Chris is talking about also echoes to a monetary value based on what profit centers you're working at, which is really another motivator for the team in itself. You know, I used to say, show me my pay plan and I'll know what my job description is. You know, so that's kind of how the reps really take it. So one thing I want to echo too is, because we have such a stringent process on scripting, even though Chris is in the room, we hear keywords that are happening. So he can literally take over a call in the middle of it just based on what he's hearing from the rep, because what the rep is saying, he already knows what the customer's saying. So the script is so vital for everybody, because I think we can say, and Chris can help, I mean, if they don't make it in this industry, it's because they didn't master the scripts. So if you share on that a little bit, maybe, Chris, I don't want to take your thunder, but...
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a prime example of that. I had a salesman come into the BDC, and you know, they have in their mind, they already know everything. They have the answer to it all. So he came in, and, you know, he struggled with the scripts at first, but I'm like, look, trust me, it's worth it. Just do this, and I promise it's going to pay off. So yesterday, and Todd will vouch, referrals are one of the hardest things to get from a BDC perspective. I had him, every customer, like clockwork, he was nailing the script. Oh, by the way, do you have, if you have one friend in the market, who would that be? Whether now or later on down the road. Every time, I'd say in 10 calls, he got 2 referrals, and everybody's turning around in their chair going, "What are you doing? What are you doing, Dre? How'd you do that?" And he's like, "I just use a script like Chris told me." And something that easy. So it really is what Todd's saying. The scripts are there to help. Get comfortable with them, use them. They're your best friend. I mean, it's going to help you get over objections or avoid even having conversations you don't want to have with customers. And sometimes it's harder or easier said than done, I guess, to train the old dog a new trick, right, Todd? But if you show them the value in it and show them it works and live by it, it'll pay off in the long run for sure.
Okay, good. I guess if we have questions or something at this point, is that where we'd go?
Yep, we've got a few minutes left. We haven't had any questions come in from the audience yet, so if there is anything else that maybe you would want to share, Chris, that you think that we didn't touch on about accountability tracking, why don't you do that right now? And then if we have any questions come in the last couple minutes, I'll jump back in and make sure that we get those answered, all right?
Okay, yeah, well, I will. We didn't really touch on earlier, but I don't know if every BDC has it, but we have a performance plan, just like the sales floor does. So all my reps are expected to have minimum 30 solds per month or 90 rolling day average. So they got to average 30. So if they do 35, 25, 30, they're fine. But if they do 25, 25, 25, then they get themselves into a situation where we get on a performance plan. So it's part of that accountability. And I don't do it to manage by fear, I guess. Like some people would say that's, oh, well, you're just trying to scare them to do their job. It's not that. It's more so to make sure they're holding themselves accountable all month, because we all have bad months. I mean, but there's a job that's got to get done, and if there's not something like that in place and they don't feel like working and they don't need the money, then 20 sales is good for them that month. That's all they're going to get from them. So we had a couple people where we were having some issues, and we came up with a plan. Like I said, it's pretty much a sales floor, minimum 10 cars or whatever. But it's broke down to the BDC format, and it has made a night and day difference, I would say, on consistency. My numbers are pretty consistent. We can usually show, 15, 20% growth from last year to this year, pending any catastrophic happenings in the car industry. But for the most part, it's pretty true, and I think that's been a big part of it, holding them accountable to, their individual performance from a performance standpoint or action plan like that. So we go over that every month in their one-on-ones, and like I said, it's made a huge difference. So I don't know if that's something Todd sees other places doing or not, but it's made a big difference for us.
And Todd, any final thoughts on accountability tracking that you would like to share?
Yeah, one thing that Chris is saying, and he's one of the higher ones out there. I know I got other BCs out there listening, but hear what he said. I mean, these people got to have 140. They average he moved it to 120. He's talking about they got to sell 30 cars a month on a 90-day average just to keep a job. So it's not motivation by fear, but I mean, those are some pretty high numbers. So a lot of other BDCs are going, oh my God, wait a minute, we got guys selling 20, and that's all right. That just happens to be where you are. But know that it's Chris being in the pit. It's Chris holding accountability. It's Chris creating minimum standards and tracking and coaching, and that's what's made him successful. And his coexistence with the management team from the 7 locations is phenomenal. They all see the benefit. They all see the growth. So this is why he's live with us right now. So that's
and low turnover.
Yeah, it's very low turnover because they're making money, and that's important. So I would say thank all of you guys and anyone that's listened. If you need anything that we talked about, the tracking sheets, the reporting, any processes that you heard saying, I wish I had it, contact me and you'll have it.
Okay? And tell them how they can contact you, Todd.
Well, they can contact me at Todd at Hudak Consulting. They can contact me by phone at 859-992-4166, or I mean, you can visit my website at hoodatconsulting.com and request information. So there's multiple ways. Just it's Hoodat Consulting would be the key word to look up, and you will be able to find a way to contact me.
Great. And Chris, how can people contact you if they have any questions for you?
You can reach me. My email address is Stolzenberg, so first initial, last name, at jeffdeals.com. That's probably the easiest way just because I am so busy. But if they need to call, the number on the website at jeffdeals.com will take them into my team, and they'll get them over to me.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for getting on today and sharing all this information. We will get that tick sheet and upload that onto the Hangout page after we complete this Hangout. And join us next month for another episode of Creating the Handshake. We'll have on another great guest, and we'll go over some other ways that you can have success in your auto dealership. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks, Todd.
Yes, thank you, Chris.